The Eredivisie is the highest football league in the Netherlands. This year, and most years indeed, there are 18 different teams that play in the Eredivisie, and in this video I'd like to look at all of their names and nicknames and the history behind them. The first team I'd like to look at in alphabetical order is the club Ajax Amsterdam, which was founded in 1900. The club, as the name suggests, is from the capital of the Netherlands, Amsterdam, and is officially called AFC Ajax. This stands for, or the AFC part of it stands for the Amsterdamse Football Club, noting here that Amsterdamse is spelled in the old-fashioned spelling. The name Ajax comes from a Greek hero from Greek mythology who was busy at the Trojan War. There were in fact two Ajaxes, a greater and a lesser Ajax. The reason why this name was chosen was because around 1900 these classical figures were incredibly popular in the Netherlands, particularly with sportsmen. Now, this club is actually the one that is most related with my own family, part of them coming from Amsterdam, and so my dad and his dad before him both went to many Ajax games and watched the legendary Johan Cruyff play a lot of the games there. And so I thought that deserved a mention for Ajax as well in this case. Now, the nicknames, there are various nicknames for the club Ajax. One is Lucky Ajax because on several occasions luck seemed to be in their favour and they managed to come back from big losses against other clubs and still managed to swing the game. And one memorable occasion is when the fog helped them to win against Liverpool in what became known as the Mistwedstrijd, or the fog match. Another of their nicknames is De Joden, which means the Jews, because for a long time Amsterdam was one of the most important cultural centres for Jews in the world, and so the supporters became associated with the Jews as well, as there were many Jewish players and supporters alike. A final nickname for the club is De Godenzonen, which means the sons of the gods, partially because of their name of Ajax, this Greek hero, as well as that they seem to be favoured by divine powers. The next club I'm going to look at is AZ Alkmaar, which, as the name suggests, is from Alkmaar in the province of Noord-Holland, and it was founded in 1967. The full club is AZ Alkmaar, which is actually a little bit confusing because the AZ stands for Alkmaar Zaanstreek. So altogether it's actually Alkmaar Zaanstreek Alkmaar, so it repeats a little bit. Their nickname, or one of the most popular nicknames for the club, are the Kaaskoppen, which means the cheeseheads. And funnily enough, cheesehead is also, a Käsekopf, is what the Germans oftentimes refer to the Dutch as. Another of AZ Alkmaar's nicknames are the Kaasboeren, which means the cheese farmers. So these cheese-related nicknames come from the fact that there is a cheese market in Alkmaar. And so in Alkmaar, it's one of the two cheese cities of the Netherlands, including Gouda, because these two cities have cheese markets in them. So the Kaaskoppen is a good name for the club. SC Cambuur is a club from the province of Friesland, and they are from the city of Leeuwarden, which is the Frisian name, or Leeuwarden to use the Dutch name. They were established in 1964, but its name actually comes from Kamminga, which is the name of a noble family from Friesland and who owned part of the city. And what's interesting is that their coat of arms actually informs the current crest of the club, as you can see, with the red deer in the centre, which is quite interesting. The nickname of SC Cambuur and its supporters are the Yellow Blues, and this is probably because of the colours that they play in. FC Emmen is the next club that I'll look at, and they are from Emmen, which I believe is in the province of Drenthe. And a fun fact, I actually used to play netball with the mother of a player that played for FC Emmen. So, full of famous connections, me. The club was established in 1925, and its official name is FC Emmen, which in this case stands for Football Club Emmen. Now, their nickname is the Rood-Witten, which rather uncreatively is the Red-Whites because they play in red and white. Excelsior Rotterdam is a club, unsurprisingly, from the city of Rotterdam in Zuid-Holland, although technically they are from somewhat outside of the city, from an area called Kralingen, or a village called Kralingen, and so that informs their nickname of the Kralingers, because they are the people that come from Kralingen, although now most of their supporters are indeed from the city of Rotterdam. The second part of the name Excelsior is a Latin word, which means something like the very best, the brilliant, the sublime, and I believe it's related to the English word excellent, which is why they stuck it on the end to get a bit of that classical feel of being superior to their rivals. Now, as far as I could tell, the nickname once again was very creative for the fans and the players, which are the Rood-Zwarten, which means the Red Blacks. So if you get anything out of this video, you can learn colours in Dutch. Feyenoord Rotterdam is another club from the area of Rotterdam, and this time from more close to the city centre itself, or specifically, and as it's named after, the area called Feyenoord. Although it should be noted that the spelling was officially changed to Feyenoord with a Y rather than the Dutch A or the IJ. I believe the club was established in 1908, but the spelling was changed in 1974. And I will say that to my family's horror, who were mainly Ajax supporters, I have always been more of a Feyenoord supporter because my cousins grew up in Rotterdam, and so I associated more with that club, and I enjoyed teasing my dad whenever Feyenoord won the Klassieker, the classic, against Ajax. So they have several nicknames. One is the Club aan de Maas, which means the club on the Meuse, as Rotterdam is on the Meuse River, so that makes sense why it's called that. Another is the Trots van Zuid, which means the pride of the south, partially because Rotterdam is in the south, but also because many of the workers that moved to Rotterdam in the early 20th century were from Gelderland, from Brabant, from Limburg, Zeeland, other areas in the south of the Netherlands. It pulled in many of those, and so Feyenoord became a bit of a club for many people living in the south of the Netherlands who had emigrated to Rotterdam, and so that's why it's the Trots van Zuid. And finally there is another, the Club van het Volk, which means the People's Club, because it was seen as being a club of the people. Fortuna Sittard is a club that is from the city of Sittard in Limburg, in the very south of the Netherlands, and it was established in 1968. Now the nickname of Fortuna is Fortunezen, or this is the name given to the fans, which essentially is the Dutch version of making a name something like Fortunians. Now obviously the city is called Sittard and not Fortuna, but it's basically they've gone from the word Fortuna, which means luck in I believe it's Latin, and so they have changed that into a name for the fans. The Go-Ahead Eagles were established in the city of Deventer in Overijssel in 1902. They were initially founded under the name Be Quick, although soon they changed this to Go Ahead instead, this change occurring in 1907. Now their nickname was the Trots aan de IJssel, which means the pride on the IJssel being the river that runs through Deventer, which makes sense once again. Their nickname actually is Coët, which looks like gibberish, but actually is how most of the Dutch fans pronounce the name of the club, Go Ahead, Coët, and so that has become the nickname for the club itself. FC Groningen, unsurprisingly, is from the city of Groningen in the province of Groningen. It all checks out. It was established in 1971, its full name being FC Groningen, obviously Football Club Groningen, and it is called the Trots van het Noorden. So as you can see, another quite common theme, as well as being the pride on river, you also have the pride of this geographical direction, and this is apparently the pride of the north. Another club from the north is from Heerenveen or Heerenveen. As you can tell from the two names, this is one of the clubs that is from the province of Friesland in the north of the Netherlands and was established in 1920. In Dutch, it's called SC Heerenveen, whereas in Frisian, it's called het Sportclub Heerenveen, because the place name in Frisian is Heerenveen, and you have to put the, a bit like The Hague. You can't just say in Hague, you have to say in The Hague in English. So this is interesting, and for more information about this, check out some of my other videos on Frisian. But of note to the football is that their football kit and their crest is highly inspired by a lot of Frisian iconography, including the Pompblad and the Frisian flag, as you will see. So one of their nicknames is the Super Friesen, which means the Super Frisians, although there is also a Frisian nickname for the club, which is simply Het Veen, which is a shortening of Het Heerenveen, so the city that they come from. And literally the Veen part means the peat, and Heerenveen means the peat of the Lord. So it's the bit of the marsh that is ruled by the Lord. So that's quite a cool name. NAC Nijmegen is from the city of Nijmegen in the province of Gelderland in the Netherlands. It was established in 1900 and the initials NAC stand for the Nijmegen Eendracht Combinatie, which in English means something like the Nijmegen Unity Combination, as it brought several sports clubs together into one football team. PSV is from the city of Eindhoven in Brabant. It was established in 1913 and the acronym PSV actually stands for the Philips Sportvereniging, which is the Philips Sports Association named after the company Philips that makes lots of technological goods and was established in the city of Nijmegen. And indeed, it is here, not Nijmegen, in the city of Eindhoven. And it is here that many of the workers that worked for Philips would get together in their lunch breaks and play football. And this is the origin of the club PSV. Because of this, they have several nicknames related to Philips, one being the Lampen, which means the lamps, because these are the kinds of things that Philips were manufacturing at the time in the early 20th century. Another one is de Boeren, which means the farmers, because many of the people from around Brabant were farmers who moved into the city of Eindhoven in the earlier 20th century as well. Not to be confused with another club that I don't mention in this video, the Graafschap, whose fans are referred to as the Superboeren, so the super farmers. A final nickname, and the least creative, is the Rood-Witten, which means the Red-Whites, and this is based on the red and white striped home shirts that PSV famously play in. Sparta Rotterdam is the third and final club in the Eredivisie to come from Rotterdam. It was founded in 1888, and I believe that makes it the oldest club in the Eredivisie, and the nickname Sparta again goes back to the ancient Greeks and the city of Sparta, the city-state that was very popular, and so sometimes they are called the Spartanen because obviously the Spartanen, the Spartans, that makes sense, although their most popular nickname appears to be the Kasteelheren, which is the castle lords. And any fans in the comment section below, feel free to let me know why that's the nickname. I couldn't find anything as to why that is actually the nickname, but another nickname that I found were the Rood-Witte Gladiatoren, which are the red-white gladiators, and this goes back to the colours that they play in, unsurprisingly. RKC Waalwijk is a club from Waalwijk in the county or province of Brabant in the southern Netherlands, and it was established in 1940. RKC stands for the Rooms-Katholieke Combinatie, which means the Roman Catholic combination, and it was a combination of various Roman Catholic football and sports clubs together. Now, their nickname is the Geel-Blauwen, which means the Yellow Blues, and you can probably guess the colours that they play at home. FC Twente come from not the city, but the region of Twente, because that isn't actually in itself a city, but the city that they specifically come from in Twente is Enschede. They were established in 1965, and FC Twente are usually referred to as the Tukkers, And what's interesting is that the Tukkers isn't just the nickname for the football club, but the general nickname for people from the region of Twente itself. And there are all sorts of theories as to where this came from. One of it being that it's named after a meadow warbler commonly found in the area called the Heikneuter. But there are many theories about this, and the last word hasn't been said about where the nickname comes from. But in any case, the footballers of FC Twente and their fans are usually referred to with the same nickname as the region, a bit like Newcastle United fans are referred to as Geordies. Another nickname that they have is de Trots van het Oosten, which is the pride of the East. So we've had the pride of the North, the pride of the South, the pride of the East, and we only need the pride of the West to complete the four. FC Utrecht come from the city of Utrecht in the province of Utrecht. Then that's a trio. It was founded in 1970, and FC Utrecht is mostly referred to by the fans as Utrecht, which is the Utrecht dialect name for the city of Utrecht itself, and is quite popularly known throughout the Netherlands as well. Another of the nicknames is the Domstedelingen, which comes from the term Domstad, the Dom being a particular type of church spire, as Utrecht is famous for the Domtoren, or the spire tower of the church. And so the football club is also associated with this church tower, and so those who play for them and the fans are called the ones of the church tower in Utrecht, which makes some kind of sense. Vitesse come from the city of Arnhem in Gelderland in the Netherlands. They were established in 1892 and their full name is SBV Vitesse. SBV stands for Stichting Betaald Voetbal, which is Association Professional or Paid Football. And what's interesting about this club is that it's quite an old club. I think it's one of the oldest clubs in the Netherlands that are playing in the Eredivisie. And SBV Vitesse have another nickname that they are known by, which is as Vitesse, which is interesting because that's actually just a shortened version of the club name itself, a bit like how Tottenham Hotspur are sometimes referred to as Spurs rather than the full name. There's another nickname that they have, which is quite fun though, which is FC Hollywood aan de Rijn, which means FC Hollywood on the Rhine, because they were incredibly entertaining and because oftentimes when either they'd won or they'd lost, a lot of the time the city would be in absolute uproar, and so it would be worth shooting a film about, which is, I think, quite a fun nickname. Another one that they've recently has been Chelsea 2, which is because they have bought many players from Chelsea, and so other fans of other clubs derided them and called them Chelsea 2 because all the players that had been kicked out of Chelsea have ended up at Vitesse instead. FC Volendam comes from the city of Volendam in North Holland. It was established in 1920, although it became a purely professional club following a split in 1977. FC Volendam the city of Volendam itself is extremely Catholic and is quite recognizable for several of the habits and quite isolationist ideals of many of the village's inhabitants. One of the nicknames for the club was the Palingboeren, which is the eel farmers, because many of the inhabitants of Volendam were fishermen. Another fun fact that my dad always tells me is that they would refuse to play on Sunday because they all had to go to church and it was the day of the Lord, and so this would create quite a bit of scheduling chaos in the league, although I'm not sure if that still holds to this day. One of their nicknames is Het Andere Oranje, which means the other orange, because of course the standard orange is the orange of the Dutch royal family and the orange that the national team play in. This is because Volendam also play in the colour orange. Alright everyone, thank you very much for watching this video about the team names and the nicknames of various clubs from the Eredivisie playing in the Netherlands. Let me know if you'd like to see me cover any other leagues. I was thinking the Bundesliga is perhaps a little bit boring because all the clubs are named after cities, but I'm not actually sure about the nicknames of various clubs and the histories behind them, so I thought maybe I can take a look at that if that is indeed an interesting one to do. Alternatively, I know the Spanish league, the Liga BBVA, I think, is it BBVA or BBV? Anyway, the Spanish league, they have some quite good names as well, and it's quite interesting why many of those clubs are called Real or Royal. I thought that might be a fun one to look at too. Let me know in the comments below, are you a supporter of any of these clubs, and does your name have a fun history behind its name or nickname? Let me know, and check out the video on the next English. Thanks for watching. I have been Hilbert, and this has been Het Voetballen.